You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Grimm After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Grimm After Show.
Welcome back, Grimm fans, Grimsters, Gremlins, all the kinds. Welcome back. You've never heard that before?
No, but I love it.
Yeah, I personally like Grimsters. Either way, whoever you are, however you identify yourself, maybe you identify as all or a cross of many of them.
Yes.
Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV's Grimm After Show. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. Joining me on tonight's panel is the lovely Yael Tygiel.
Hello, everyone.
Dylan Chance is out tonight. He's a little under the weather.
Poor Dylan.
We'll send him some potions from Rosalie's Spice Shop.
Yeah.
And he should be feeling better by next week.
Or from Adalind's mother's storage unit.
Yeah, if you want him to die.
I'm sure.
What are you trying to do to Dylan?
There's something that'll save him there.
Don't doom him with Hex and Beast potions.
I'm sure they have something positive. I'm sure.
All right. We'll get him
there.
healed up one way or the other. We're talking episode 320, My Fair Wesen.
Mm-hmm.
And we start off with the quotation of the week. No longer a dark gray bird, ugly and disagreeable to look at, but a graceful and beautiful swan.
It's such a uplifting quote, and you said it.
It's
so,
grim. It's deadly.
Read the last sentence to me. Just the last part.
A graceful and beautiful swan.
No, do it again in your grim voice.
But a graceful and beautiful swan.
That's the problem with what you said. I love it.
I mean, it's from Hans Christian Andersen, so I guess I should have gone with a more like parental,
yeah.
fluffy thing. But it's grim, and people are gonna die, so you got to treat it with the respect, and you can't have any brevity.
Yes.
It is, or levity rather, not brevity.
I was wondering.
But it's a good quote. It's mainly, I think, in this story about Trubel, about her realizing who she is and what she can be.
Yeah.
Not being stuck in how she's known herself, how she's been treated by others, but the potential that she has. That there is something amazing, something beautiful in both senses of the word, hidden underneath her awesome leather jacket and badassery.
Yes. Badassery.
I've been using the words badassery and kickassery a lot after Buzz recently. I don't know why.
They should catch on.
Hashtag assery. What? Let's get started talking about the episode. There's trouble afoot.
You think you put money in the pun jar?
There's no pun jar on this show.
Good.
Yet. Next season, maybe. But so we open up right where we left off.
If not a moment earlier.
Yeah, we actually get a little piece.
Yeah.
But Juliet is dealing with the fact that Nick just brought home Trubel for dinner, and she's not only a weird and uninvited guest, she literally calls herself Trubel.
Yeah.
I like that Juliet actually responded with a reasonable reaction this week.
Yeah.
Voice of reason from Juliet. Like, you just brought a crazy person into my home, and I'm just supposed to deal with it?
She actually, I think she said, you brought a murder suspect home, and Nick responds, not technically a suspect, because we know she did it. Yeah,
it's
that's
great.
what you brought home. A murderer.
But yes, that's exactly. But it was self-defense. In her defense, it was to protect herself. You got to give her credit for that. She was attacked. But it's really great to see their reaction, because Trubel disappears for a second and Nick freaks out after Juliet agrees. She's like, okay, how long are we gonna put up with this? But Trubel's run away. They're like, where'd you go? But her backpack's still there, so we're like, she couldn't have gone far. And then she's just wolfing Chinese food in the other room.
I like that she's like, it's been a while since I've eaten with people.
Yeah.
You don't forget to like eat food with a fork.
And you try not eating a meal with other people for years. I think she just saw that she's hungry. This is like, it's not like we had a breathing time of like a week between what we saw last week where she's running from the police and then she's in police custody and all that. She's still like a starving kid on the streets. And I think in her mind, she could be let go at any moment. Like, Nick could kick her to the streets. That's her experience. That's what she believes could happen. She's got to get this food in while she has a moment.
Yeah, who knows when the next time she'll get to eat.
That's her. I mean, that's how she lives.
Yeah.
That's her day to day.
Which ended up benefiting us throughout the episode.
Her mistrust, or
her upbringing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it does definitely come into play as we meet the Vessen of the week and deal with that whole story. What I thought, but before we get away from that whole interaction, I thought it was very interesting to see over their dinner what Juliet's reaction, like the way that Juliet and Trubel kind of interacted. Like, Nick's now this like mentor of sorts. Nick is now Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Of course.
To Trubel's Luke Skywalker.
Of course.
It's May the 4th. Come on, Yael. It's Star Wars Day.
That's why I said of course.
I had to get in at least one Star Wars analogy, and this one is pretty perfect.
This was perfect. I was waiting to see you do it.
But he really, it's great to see him taking on this. It's the next step for this character. Since the beginning, Nick's character has been sort of like, had these like brief bits of movement, and then he kind of slows down again. And he's like just kind of going along. And then he goes up, and then he kind of keeps going along. And now we've got him in a new role, somewhere he can go and something he can deal with.
Yeah, well, as we've been saying, something needs to change at some point. We've been seeing him explore this whole I am a Grimm, what does that mean thing for 3 seasons now. So it's only fitting that now he changes to I know what it means, and now I have to explain it to someone else.
We get more Grimms.
Yeah. What? Something Zach has been asking for years? Thank you.
Since like episode 2.
Probably, yeah. I believe it.
I think I've literally been like, well, when are we gonna get more of these guys? There's got to be more.
Yeah.
So we get like when she tries to sneak out later, because that's the thing, is she really doesn't think that this is gonna be something permanent, and Nick. I'm like, Nick's a super Grimm. He knows you're trying to leave.
Yeah.
Even if he's not like just like has thought of it, he heard you get up.
Yeah.
He's like, I heard Wood Creek. He jumps out the window, slides down the balcony and the like the water drain pipe, and he's just chilling. Hey, what's up?
In your mind, is new super Grimm Nick like a superhero?
He could be if he wanted to.
Okay. Like jumping out
the only difference
between
between Nick being a superhero and like the classic superheroes is that he doesn't wear tights.
Okay.
Think about it. There are superpowered creatures and people running around. Nick's got a secret identity. By day, he's a Portland police officer. And by night, he's the unholy deathbringer, Grimm.
All right. I'll take it.
He's basically a superhero.
You're right. You are correct.
We need to get him a costume with a big G right here on the chest.
I'd rather we didn't. He's got a costume. It's a badge.
That'll be the new, if they do another Grimm comic.
Yeah.
That'll be better than. And we'll talk about that later. We are going to talk about the latest issue, the last issue of the Grimm comic book a little bit later on in the show.
But before we continue, when Nick catches Trubel outside, he returns her chess piece. He gives her back the her knight.
What do you think is in it?
I don't know. I'm so excited.
What could it be?
I hope that it could, because it clearly is something.
They made a point.
Unless this is what it was, that it was just this memento.
What if there's like a coin of Xanthos in there?
You just love those coins.
I'm not wearing my coin tonight.
But you love the idea of
it's
those.
A great device. And like, we know that they're somewhere off. They got sent off. But who knows where that wasn't all of them.
Right,
who knows where they all are.
Why would she have one?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe she doesn't know if it's something that was given, it was something from her parents. Like her parents were protecting it. What if there's a key inside? Because we know there's how many keys?
Aren't there 3 keys?
There's either 3 or 4. There's a bunch of keys out there, And we'll talk about the keys a lot more later on in the show. But what if that's inside? I think there's something inside the night, and like somebody's gonna have to smash. She's like, no, that's not for my parents. And then inside's like some kind of Grimm lore.
Interesting prediction.
I'm throwing it up on the board. There is something hidden inside the night.
It's on the board, people. On the board. So the next day.
Yes.
I'm skipping us ahead.
But so Nick tries to think how he's got to put in a training regiment. There's no Jedi Council manual for this. So what's the first thing we can do? Introduce her to the fact that not all Vessen are bad.
Yeah.
So who's the go-to people for not bad
nice people?
Vessens? Monrosalie.
Yeah, it is.
And she brings them over, and he brings her over to them, and they vote for her. They take her through the main process, tell them about care sites.
Explain everything. It's basically the episode that we've been wanting, that now that we've accumulated the information, they just are like, hey, here's what you missed in the last 3 seasons.
Simply that you wonder why Nick couldn't have gotten this on day 2 or day 1. Like,
I think that was the best part, was when she says, well, how do they know I'm a Grimm? And we all at the audience went, yeah, Nick, that's the question you ask. That's the question you ask when they say, oh, you can see me.
I loved that exchange, though. They're like, it's dark, not just like regular dark. It's all the way all the way down to your soul dark. And her reaction is just, cool. And I think that you see that look between Monroe and Rosalie, like, this is a person we should be afraid of.
Yeah.
Like, that is not like, they tell her, like, we can see the darkness within you. It's blacker than black, like, just like a black hole, but worse. And she's like, awesome.
Yeah.
She's a scary person.
I think what also was really important and interesting is that they took her to Monrosalie to show her that there are Vessen who aren't bad. But as they're leaving, Rosalie goes, not all Vessen are nice like us. Like, there are some you have to worry about, which is a nice contrast, that they brought her there to show her that they're not all evil. And the nice ones were like, wait, but a lot of them are.
Well, the thing is, Vessen are just like people. They just happen to have superpowers. There are good ones, there are bad ones. You have to approach them like you would any person.
I think it's a little different, though, because when she approaches them, whether they're good or bad, they have instincts based on her.
Yes.
So it's not just like people.
Well, just like anyone is in real life is going to react to you as a person. Like, they don't get the convenient little, like, look down your eyes and they know a bit of your life story. But when you approach any person in life, they bring their own baggage to it, and that's basically what Trouble's dealing with. And I think it's one of the things that this show does really well is parallel what is going on, like real life situations with the extremes of the mythology and just fantasy land of Grimm. But so while all this is going on, we got our Vessen of the Week, which I like. This is the way that I like bringing in Vessen of the Week. Is like we get a little bit of a story, but it's so intricately tied to what we're doing in the serialized portion that we barely even notice that it's just like a standalone story. And so we see a group of blonde women and one brunette. I thought the blonde thing was going to be a trend at first. But a group of good-looking women at a department store. Like,
in beautiful, beautiful shoes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I inferred that much.
They were Louis Vuittons. They were beautiful. just so those who don't know, that was amazing.
So you can go onto your local Louis Vuitton store and pick up just ask for the Grimm collection.
Yes.
Even I would go see what was up at Louis Vuitton if there was a Grimm tie-in section.
Moving on to the high-end heist ring.
They sort of like what Trubel did last week. They created a big distraction. With Trubel, it was a fire alarm, but they push a mannequin over until it breaks glass.
Amazing. It was another genius shoplifting scam.
Grimm,
Genius.
teaching people to shoplift since
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah, I'm taking notes, guys. I'm kidding. I'm so kidding.
So they start ransacking the place, like
Yeah.
while everyone's dealing with that. But one of them,
Cammy.
this girl, Cammy or Camilla Reynolds, gets caught.
Yeah.
And she runs away as fast as she can. Like she knows that the guy's got her.
Yeah.
But she disappears, and the other girls go back to
The
who we
family.
meet. Yeah, the family. We meet Ken, this really creepy like pimp dude who's he's essentially a pimp.
He's a
like
pimp.
he's not. They're not hooking as they say throughout the episode.
Yeah, they make it very clear.
But it's just
He's
as
a pimp.
it's basically as bad.
Yeah.
He like this is a guy who's raping these girls, who's demanding that like that things they do illegal things for him
Yeah.
for no benefit to themselves. It's a pimp operation.
Yes.
But he's the ringleader, and he's so wasn't he just the creepiest man ever with all the talk of family? Mm-hmm. He says,
It was like cult-like in his family talk.
he says no sacrifice is too great. This is your family, and without your family,
You're nothing.
nothing.
Yeah. And then they make out.
They do not. Well, he does give her like a kiss of death.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I guess
Is making out.
don't make out with Yael. That's
Gross. Stop.
that is frightening. That is making out to you.
It was. I was like, how do I describe this in my notes? They make out.
Kiss of death is, I think, a much more apt
He
term.
He latched onto her face and sucked all the blood out of her body.
Like the worst, like, the people that like go a little bit too wide with their mouths when they try to kiss.
No, who are you making out with that does that?
We're gonna move on from this topic, this general conversation.
Anyway, it's kind of vampire-esque in that they suck out all your blood.
But these are the Lebensauger. I believe I'm pronounced. I heard two different pronunciations.
It was kind of like she read it and was like, Lebensauger. And he was like, no, we're Americans. Lebensauger. And she goes, oh, okay.
Lebensauger.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's a fancy German word.
Yes.
I've learned to pronounce a lot of these. I've gotten pretty good at it.
Have you?
But that one's hard.
Yes.
It's new. But so these Vessen are really creepy, and they just dump her body in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Like in a bag.
And then Delta finds the body.
Yeah, this cute little yellow lab, just like he's digging. They're like, bad dog, bad. And then, oh no. So next thing we know, of course, who are they gonna call?
The Grim Busters. Sorry.
No, they're not Grim Busters.
You said who they gonna call?
I know, but I was well. Either way,
I had to. I apologize.
I guess they could be. Well,
Anyway,
either way,
the
they
Grim.
the only homicide detectives in
yeah.
all of Portland.
course.
They call Nick and Hank, who have trouble. I thought that was the criminology student cover was perfect.
I think it was great, except for that she sucks at keeping a cover,
She's never had to before.
which is surprising because she's on the run. She's shoplifting. She's clearly good at manipulating her way through things. And later we see her go undercover, quote unquote.
But she's never had to manipulate people she knew she would continue to have to interact with. Like, I think she assumes, for at least for now, she's going to be, like, after Nick basically talks her into staying for a bit, she knows she's going to be with these people for a while. So she can't just feed them complete lies. She has to follow along with the pre-built lies that they give her. And that's very limiting to somebody who's used to just being able to run at the very instant the instant she gives herself away, she can just bolt out the door and be gone forever. Now she's going to have to interact with Woo, with Nick, with Hank. She's going to have to keep talking to these people. So she has to get it right.
So when she doesn't know what insanguination is, it's it's not confusing to them.
They haven't gotten to that chapter of the textbook yet.
She must be like an intro, like just starting criminology or thinking about it even.
Well, either way, a ride along is reasonable.
All right.
I thought it was a really good cover.
I just don't understand. I'm sorry to poke holes in the show, but I really need to ask this. How does no one notice that she looks like the suspect from the last case that they just ran.
That is a very good point.
Wu looks straight at her and goes, "Who's this?"
But did Wu ever meet her?
No, but they all had that photo of her from the drive-through.
That's true. That's true. They were on a manhunt for her last week. All right.
I'm sorry, everyone. I
no,
don't mean to
don't
ruin
apologize.
the show.
It was a
huge issue.
It's a fair question.
It's the next day.
It is the next
It
day.
is the next day.
So in theory, they're still on the hunt for her.
Yep, but they've dropped that case for some
But
reason.
I will say that I think that they're still they trust Nick and Hank
Enough to ignore that there's some strange girl that looks like the murderer.
enough to write it off as a coincidence.
Okay.
I think that's I'm gonna use that as the justification.
I'm going to put on the board that her manhunt the manhunt for her is not over,
Okay.
and that it will come back
Ooh,
within the next 2 episodes.
interesting. I do think she's in too good of a place, but we'll get to where we wind up at the end of the
I'm
episode.
just putting that on the board.
But so they I mean, I loved her interaction with Wu, regardless of
Yes.
that. She's just like, "Oh, it's got to be Vessen. Who's Vessen?" Oh. And she just freezes and comes up with the worst response. You are not happy with that.
No. Whatever. Moving on. I'm just still stuck on the fact that they haven't figured out
Who she is.
that she is the murderer they're looking for.
Well, moving past that, I enjoy that, and it just made me want more and more. Somebody tell Wu. We got that little flash with him where he's like, she talks about her nightmares, and
Yeah.
he wants to. I'm not sure what he wanted to do there. Did he want to tell her about his nightmares, or was he just like
That's just
having
weird.
a flashback?
I think he was having a flashback. I think it's another reminder that he needs to talk to someone. But I don't think he wanted to tell her. Like, she's some strange girl, and he sounds crazy.
Somebody please help Wu. Just tell him what's up. Enough of the care site stuff with Wu. Let him be a care site slushkenin.
You're so cute.
What?
Nothing. I love when you say it.
Um,
Moving on.
so they basically piece together, thanks to like they figure out who the girl is. They track her back to this home for girls who have
group
run
home.
away, who have emancipated themselves and or just need a place to stay.
It's isn't it for kids,
Troubled
girls in
girls.
foster care?
Yes, essentially.
It's a group home, and it's called New
Thank
Beginnings.
you. That's the word I was looking for.
Group
home. And they track her back there, and they find her files and everything. They see that she has a bit of a juvie record for like larceny and what is it, like light larceny or something? Petty larceny. Petty larceny.
Sure. They meet Jean and Megan.
Yes, and this was another moment for Trouble. Like she stays in the car this time, but from across the way, she sees that
Megan
vogues, and she doesn't know what to do at first. Like she can see that this person is scared when she vogues, and she was a beaver.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what they're called offhand.
Isn't that Bud one of those?
But yeah, it's the same creature as Bud, who we haven't seen in a little while. But I'm
miss
sure
him.
he's around.
Yeah.
He's fixing plumbing somewhere.
He has to be at the wedding.
That he definitely will come back
Yeah.
for the wedding. But so she goes and she takes charge of her own. She puts it in her own hands. And She just goes out to like Hank starts driving away, and she just like, no, I'm dealing with this.
Yeah, because they just ignore her when she's like, I saw one. Let me go talk to her.
But
They're like, no.
they're still police. They can't like just start grilling an underage girl with no reason except that she's a Vessen.
Yeah.
Who's Vessen? They can't use that explanation. Well, they could to Captain Renard, I guess.
Yeah. That's all they need to explain themselves to one guy, and he's Vessen. So I think they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, but they don't want to arouse suspicion either way.
Right.
So Trouble charges in there and interrogates her until they get out all the information they need.
O'Brien Square.
Yeah, so they go to they do the stakeout, and Trouble is not okay with the stakeout. Just like sitting in a car for long periods of time, like watching. She's like, "What about her?" No, it's just an affair. Of course it is.
The affair was so funny.
That was cute. They could just be in love.
Sure.
Yael does not buy that.
Nope, it was an affair.
But then they see this woman walk up, and we know her as Donna. And Trubel instantly figures out what she can do here and just grabs change out of the car, takes her cup, starts begging for change. And she is exactly what they're looking for. And so it's like the perfect setup. She plays Donna as much as Donna thinks she's playing Trubel.
Right.
And they bring her back to their secret base. Or she brings... But Nick and Hank are freaked. They can't catch her, of course.
Right, because the BMW took off.
And once they get there, Trubel finds herself in a little over her head when she gets a makeover.
Oh, that makeover.
Makeover.
She looked a little ridiculous.
Well, she looked so uncomfortable. And like the way we've gotten to know her, partially it's the short haircut, it's just what we know of her, how we've seen her dress.
Yeah.
She doesn't fit in that world. And she did a great job like in the portrayal of this because she looked uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She looked great in the clothes, but she looked super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it was super creepy when Ken walks up. He's like, "You really are hot under there." It's like, oh,
So gross.
oh, it's just like, ugh.
You're part of the family now.
And then, of course, his like first action as bringing her into the family.
Well, I don't know about you, but that's how you get into a family. Sorry, guys, I took it too far. I apologize. I couldn't even say it. I felt gross.
Well, I mean, she's just trying. She wants to help these people out. She
Yes.
thinks that's like this is the only way to help. And she's trying to play the slow game. She tries to leave at one point, but like, she's not going anywhere. And
Yeah.
he makes that perfectly clear. And that's, I think, the first moment where she realizes she might be in over her head. And then when he's like, "No, your first night, you sleep with me."
Yeah.
And that's like when this goes from a guy leading a group of like urchins to like steal merchandise or whatever, which like, yeah, it's not a great situation. Obviously, he's a murderer, but
Right.
like the situation's not the worst until he introduces the fact that he just rapes all these women as well.
Yeah.
And that's when it takes just another turn. And she is like, she like gets him into the room alone, which is smart.
Yeah.
And without a moment's beat, she's just like, "All right, well, we're done here," and just smacks him with the palm of her hand.
It was so good.
And of course, he's like, "You shouldn't have done that." And he vogues, and then of course,
Yeah.
he sees the bottomless pits of darkness into her soul.
Yep.
And he knows that this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
But then we get that big twist that I had no idea this was coming.
Yeah.
That Donna is a Lebensauger as well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Great twist.
Yes. I loved seeing Trubel fighting too. I think what surprises me the most was that Donna didn't vogue earlier. And that there wasn't, it just surprised me that.
Well,
that it
when
was
would
never,
she have vogued?
I think when she met her. I don't know. I just think it would have, because we've seen that Grimm's people tend to be unable to.
Well, but I think they vogue so often around Nick is because he's constantly like grilling them about crimes
Right.
and stuff. So they're in a nervous state when they're dealing with Nick. She's in a confident state dealing with troubles. She's like going to pick up a girl. It instantly goes the way she wants it to
Right.
go, which like she's not as suspicious as like we are when we're dealing with Nick's stuff.
I get
She
what you're
just
saying.
like so she's perfectly happy and content. And like now that we know that she's part of this whole thing, that she's like almost like in charge of corralling the girls.
And she pays the bills.
Yeah. So she has her own place that she clearly goes to. So she's as much in on this as he is.
She's as much a pimp as he is.
Exactly. But she's like hidden in the ranks to like control from within.
Right.
But what I thought was great about this whole that whole scene, the way it goes, is that what was the line? It was, "Why would you ever want to leave? You're part of a family now." And it's a great parallel between her being introduced into Nick's family and brought in and being introduced to this new creepy, rapey family.
Rapey, culty, prostitution family.
Yeah, but it's she sees the bad side of being part of a family and the good side at the same time, and I think that's what sort of shows her how much it means to be part, how good Nick really is. At the end of the day, he's special. He is more than I think anybody that she realized. The fact that he's so good is an anomaly.
Oh, of
and
course.
she's realizing that.
Yeah.
That it's not, this isn't just normal that for somebody to take you in like that. This is something she's not going to, if she leaves, she's not going to find it again. So Nick gets there just in time to see her just like smack these two down. She did get bitten
Yeah.
a little bit.
And then he shoots one.
Yeah, shoots the dude right in the chest.
Yeah.
Not before she can put a knife through Donna's throat.
Ugh.
And her first instinct is to go comfort the two girls who she connects with so much. I think that's part of why she risked herself to get into the situation. She understood what was happening and that this easily could have been her.
Yeah.
But she saves the day.
Of course.
Her
she saves-
first save as a Grimm.
And she saves Vanessa and Jenny.
Yes.
Aw.
Got them out of the terrible situation. And then we go back, and I like where she's ending up now, where she's sort of becoming part of Nick's family and becoming his mentee and all that. It's a little fast for me.
It's been a day.
Like she's come around really quickly, and as a TV watcher, that makes me nervous.
Nervous because you think it won't last, or nervous because you think it's unrealistic?
Nervous because I think that now she's in a good place, and that can only mean bad things are around the corner. And I don't want to lose her. Like, I know we talked about it last week that my prediction that I threw up on the board was that she's going to have to lose her Grimm powers to save Nick. She's going to have to make a big sacrifice. I don't think she's going to die. I know that you and Dylan felt otherwise.
Yeah.
I think she's going to make it out of the season, but not fully intact. But I don't want that to happen. I really like her as a new character. I want her to stick around. She's fun. She's brought some more life into the show, which I really enjoy. What did you think about where she is right now?
I think you're right that she is. She's doing well. I mean, she ends up saying, "I need to know more." She's staying around. When we were looking for the Laban Sager, when we were looking for that, she saw in the book, she saw the Siegbarst, which killed her foster parents. So I think that I think you're right that she is in a good place and she's staying to learn and staying to explore. But I think you're right that when you're at the top in TV, there's only one way to go.
Yeah, unfortunately. We're gonna take a little quick break, talk about iTunes, but don't worry, we'll be back. We got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Guys, thank you so much for watching this show, listening to this podcast. It is a blast for us to do. Grimm is one of our favorite shows on television. We know it's one of your favorite shows on television, and we want to make this one of your favorite podcasts to listen to. We want it to be as fun for you to listen to as it is for us to do. And the only way we can do that is by hearing from you, by you going on to iTunes and hitting us with a rating and a review. It means the world to us. It means the world to the network. It's not just about helping us as hosts. It's about helping the network stay at the top of their game, help us be searchable as like a very good podcast, and so that other people can find it, so that other Grimm fans can find it as well. And it really just helps the network stay at the top and helps us get guests, which we've been working on. For next season, we're definitely going to have some cool people come by the studio, working on that. But we need to be the best podcast in order to lock that all in. So if you go onto iTunes, hit us with a star rating. I hope it's 5 stars. I hope we're doing 5-star quality work for you. And let us know what you think. But there's other ways that you can help us as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about YouTube and the AfterBuzz TV application, which you can download for iOS and Android devices.
For free.
But many of you know, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you now, that one of our executive producers here at AfterBuzz is Maria Menounos. And I don't know if you guys have been watching at home, but we've been checking it out. It's a great show. Chasing Maria Menounos on Oxygen. You can get a window into Maria's life. The person who made all of this happen all of this is possible thanks to Maria.
For those
as well
listening,
as,
he's waving
as well
his
as our
arms.
other executive producers, Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, and all of the producers here, and all the engineers. But Maria has been instrumental, and you supporting her show is supporting us. So you can go on, you can watch it Tuesdays on Oxygen. It airs at 10 p.m. Or you can get it on iTunes, Amazon, or just general on demand on your cable box. So check that out. And I want to give a shout out while we're still in doing iTunes to one of our fans who gave us 5 stars on iTunes. Brit K1. I know she's watched a bunch of the shows. I've seen her comment on stuff before.
Yeah.
She says, "Love!" exclamation point. Love this podcast. I appreciate that the hosts take the time to learn the proper language of the Vessen. Which is really difficult.
Yeah, it is.
It took me about 4 shows to get Kersleit Schlischkennen, and that's just one of them.
Yep, I don't even bother.
Yael doesn't even try. It's hard because I do not speak German.
Nope. I just want to remind everyone that we do have a challenge that has been issued. We wanted 100 reviews. There are only 2 episodes left this season, guys. 100 reviews on iTunes. That's a written review. You can write in German. I'm sure we'll make Zach read it out.
Sure, for all of your entertainment, I will do my best.
Thank you. And if we get 100 reviews, while I am at San Diego Comic-Con in July, I will be stalking the heck out of the cast and try to get them on the show for next season.
I'll be down there like waving like, "Go Yael!" I'm like pushing her towards the cast.
No one will need to push me. I'm on it.
But we're at 26 ratings right now, so please, guys, we're a quarter of the way there.
Yeah.
There's still time. You have until July. Get on it. Let's get back to it. Let's talk about Adalind.
Yeah.
Adalind had a little bit of a thing going on here. Something that she hadn't dealt with because she had to leave was her mother's death.
Oh, yeah.
And and just the regular things that you deal with after death, which is part of which is inheritance. And turns out mommy didn't pay her taxes on time.
Shock.
For 7 years.
Are we surprised with Adelind's mom?
I guess not. Well,
No.
she was well off enough. Taxes is such just a normal thing. Like, just pay your taxes.
They're
and
not that kind of family.
I guess it just keeps the government off your back, so they can't find out what kind of things you're cooking up in your basement. I didn't say that on air. What?
Moving on.
At first we see her and she's with Renard,
And she's trying to seduce him.
she's trying to seduce him, getting to stay with her. She was really pissed off at him yesterday.
Yep.
There's something, and we know she's starting to make some kind of deal with Victor, and I'm worried for Renard because this cannot end well for him.
Ooh.
He tries to put her in another apartment because he's afraid of her.
Yeah.
As he should be.
Of course I'm afraid of you. That's the quote that I wrote down.
But look,
Best
he
kid ever.
is, for better or worse, Renard's still in love with her.
Is he?
I think so.
All right.
Do you not think Renard still loves her?
No, I don't think he ever loved her. I don't think love is anything he felt.
I mean, it's not irrational love. It's totally irrational.
I don't think it was love. I think it was lust, infatuation, maybe even.
I mean, they talked about it a few weeks ago that they seem to be meant to be together through all of this. And granted, that was while they were holding their love child.
Right.
But I think that there's a deeper connection there, or at least from Renard's side. But he doesn't know what to do about it because she could honestly murder him in his sleep.
She should, and then she should go back to Meisner. Wait, did I say that out loud? My apologies, everyone.
Oh, that's right. You're just still shipping Meisner.
Yeah, I am 100% shipping
So,
that.
asterisks on all of Yael's decisions about
but
Renard's
I
love.
do agree. I do stand by my statement that I don't think it's love on his part at all. I want to see him happy with someone else, not her, and definitely not Juliet. But she belongs with Meisner.
All right. That's fair.
Thank you.
Fair. Meisner makes her a better person.
Yeah, he does.
Or maybe just a baby. Either way, let's get Meisner back.
Yeah.
And then we find her, she's getting her mother's will read and find out that there's a storage unit with all of her mother's things in there. And so she goes and she's looking for something specific. She knows about, she picks up a book that it's wooden.
Yeah.
Very strange, clearly magical in some way. And she's trying to break into it. She can't pry it open. I thought it was a box. I think she thought it was a box. Had something important inside. Has the book been introduced to us before?
Not at all.
I didn't remember it.
No,
Yeah.
this is the first time we're hearing about this book.
But she knew what it was.
So, based on what the book was in a box that had potions and other things, which makes me believe that it was her mother's box of witchcraft. And for anyone who knows anything about witchcraft, I believe, and this is me possibly coming up with things that are not relevant in this universe, but I think it was her mom's Book of Shadows, which would be where she keeps all of her spells. And
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I thought about spell book, but it was a box at first. Until she bleeds on it.
Gross.
As you do only dark magic books, you have to like put the blood of a relative onto the spine, and then it opens up. And God only knows what kind of spells and potion recipes and all that are within.
It's a potion to bring back Meisner. Sorry, guys.
I think it will be a potion to find a baby in some way.
Fine.
But like, so there was a really quick storyline, but it's definitely leading up to something as we we only have 2 episodes left in the season. And as we get closer and closer to the end, that's going to, I think, play a huge, whatever that's in that book is going to play a huge part in it. Like I'm assuming Victor's going to come back, if the King's going to be involved, so many things. And maybe it'll be a part of telling us finally what the key unlocks. Because the big, all of a sudden, last minute additional twist at the end of this episode.
Crazy.
Just one quick little 30 seconds of this old man, who I was like, Bernard, because it's Sam Anderson, who played Bernard on Lost. He played Lee Paxton on Justified. Great actor. So I'm really excited to see him because it's not going to be a throwaway character at all. With him coming in, I'm thinking, and I'm putting this on the board, I think he is also a Grimm. I think that we've sort of opened the floodgates to the bigger Grimm family, and now that we have Trubel, I think he's another older Grimm.
I would love to see that. Personally, I think it's awesome, but very weird that as of yet, Nick is the only male Grimm we've met.
Yes, but I mean, in fairness, we've only met 4.
Yeah. That's very surprising for a TV show.
Yes, absolutely.
Lots of females as opposed to more...
Your action stars, mainly. They're your heroes.
Yeah.
And they have been predominantly female, which is great. It's a great thing about television, a great thing about this show. You don't get that. You don't get that on enough TV shows. Nope. It's making it different. Because you don't get... Trubel is like a newer character. It's not something we get to see before. And that's what I love about it.
But it's also really fascinating that they're having it, that I want to see if that actually plays a part, that maybe this Grimm gene is, passed down maternally or is passed down to women. Because I think Nick was saying something about it being a recessive gene.
Well, wasn't
and
his dad... Well, that's what he compares it to. But wasn't his dad a Grimm?
I don't know. I don't know if that was ever said. I feel like it wasn't.
I think you might be right. I may have just assumed that. Either way, that's what I think this new guy is, and I think we get some more pieces of the map. I think so. I'm assuming either at the very end of this episode or we deal with it at the very beginning of next season is going to be whatever those keys go to, whatever bigger thing unlocks it.
Well, the trailer for the next episode said there's a new key in town.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the trailer. No spoilers for people who don't want to see it.
All right.
But real quick, I want to talk about the graphic novel this week. Grimm issue 12. This is the last one.
Ever.
For now, at least. It's the last announced one. They haven't announced any. And you know what? I kind of see why. This seems like it's been a little bit of a missed opportunity for me. It's this whole crazy storyline involving Nick and Juliet and Monroe and Rosalie running off to Europe on this wild adventure where Nick's poisoned and they're chasing this guy who's trying to make a Grausen, which is like a combination of all these different DNAs of like the most powerful Vessen on the planet. And it's like it's clearly a different world than the show. And that's not what I want out of my transmedia stuff. Like, I love when shows do transmedia and they give me a graphic novel that I can read that goes along with the show. and I think that this was. There's some really cool stuff in here. We got to see the glue invoke, which we saw a little bit on the show. The blue space alien guy. We get to see some more Vessen. Like they introduce a Hydra, which is a really cool idea for a Vessen. One of these guys is they introduced the concept of pure bloods, which is a big part of this issue, especially, which I'm hoping the show does at some point. This idea that the past Vessen are the most powerful because they're the most pure. They haven't been diluted at all. Very interesting stuff. But ultimately, Juliet dies for a moment in this one, and then they use the oldest trope in science fiction, fantasy, and comic books that I just can't stand, which is magic blood, to bring her back. Like a character with healing abilities gives a drop of blood to the person who died, and then they come back to life. I hope no one ever uses that again. It's an easy out. I wasn't a huge fan of this book. There's some really cool moments in there. It doesn't tie into the show. It's completely separate from the show, and that's my biggest problem with it. Is that I want, if they do Grimm, if anyone involved in the comic books wants to listen to my ideas, I want a Detective Wu story. I still think he's going to find out. I want to see what Detective Wu does with that problem. I want to see a comic book about the history of Grimms. Do a Grimm story from the 1200s. I'd be stand in line to get that. I think it'd be really cool. I
think what you really want is just a Grimm comic that, complements what we're doing on the show.
Exactly. It should complement the show instead of being an alternate.
Here are some characters you're familiar with. Here's something else completely.
So I still want to see more Grimm comic books. I want to see them more tied into the show.
Yes.
So let's go to predictions real quick before we got to get out of here.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Nice.
I like doing the echo.
I
the
know.
extra echo, because there's plenty of echo on it already. All right. Awesome teaser for next week. Trouble in Danger. Adalind is mixing a potion. She's like...
Yeah, she has a cauldron. She's casting spells.
Yeah, she's literally got a cauldron of magic. That she drops that glass that had her blood on it into. So we know it's something that requires her blood, or a Grimm's blood, which is now mixed in with her blood, and that could be what she tries to depower Nick with. Of course, that could maybe what happens with that. And this is just off the top of my head. Is that she does take Nick's powers away momentarily. And so that's what Trouble now has to become. Like, she has to become the protector for Nick, who loses his Grimm powers for a while, which would be an incredibly interesting way to start off season 4.
You are so ambitious. I feel like you are incredibly ambitious with your storylines.
Well, that would be, I mean, just in terms of Nick has become very confident in his Grimm abilities. He's unstoppable. And so naturally, the thing to do is to take that away from him.
Right, because when you're on top, you got to go down.
Yeah, but it would be very interesting to see how Nick would now work with this world if he was a Karasite Slishkinen. What if he was? What if he lost his Grimm abilities for a while? He became enabled to see Vessen. He has to rely on Trouble for help. That would be an interesting season 4, at least for a little while. I would hope he gets his powers back soon. But
yeah, we also see Agent Weston Stewart back. FBI
he's coming for them.
Yeah, and
we get a shot of the wedding. The wedding is coming.
Yeah,
wedding is coming. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it. Do you have any last minute predictions?
Nope.
I mean, we've thrown out a bunch here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be there's only 2 episodes left, so I hope you guys tune in for it. It's gonna be a fun end to the season. Yeah, where can people find you online?
The people can find me online at yael.tv. That's yael.tv. On there, you will find interviews with the cast from last year's Comic-Con. And new interviews from WonderCon with other casts. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at Yael Tygiel. That's YaelTygiel.
And you guys can find me on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, all those places at that Zach Wilson. That's ThatZachWilson. And also here at AfterBuzz on the Resurrection podcast, which the finale is wrapping up tonight. We're going to have a special call-in guest with Mark Hildreth, who plays Pastor Tom, so please tune in for that. I'm Zach Wilson. Thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.